The group stage matches, the tournament stage quarterfinals, and semifinals will take place in Taicang. December the 8th, event matches for CROSSFIRE HD featuring top teams will be awaiting in Nanjing. December the 9th, the CROSSFIRE Legends tournament along with the CROSSFIRE final matches will determine the CFS 2018 World Champions. Guns are locked and loaded, and players are ready for an intense clash. CROSSFIRE Stars 2018, together in Taicang and Nanjing, China. Together, roaring with enthusiasm inside the arena of battle. Together, making history to become the true legend of CROSSFIRE.
This is our, my 12th time here in China.
Well, our team has been to China 3 times in the past year.
Наша команда была больше, чем 7 раз в Китае.
Feels so good to come back here again.
Практиковались, играли и чувствуем себя более уверенно, чем обычно.
I would say in the groups, we're looking most forward to playing Are You Legends?
Que este año estamos más fuertes que nunca.
Our main goal here in the tournament is to become the champion and bring the title to the Philippines.
I like duck.
Rice of chicken.
My favorite Chinese food is Guanminji.
Hot pot.
Our favorite food is hot pot.
Los chicken noodles.
Tiongkok CFS 2018.
CFS
We're coming!
CFS 2018, wir sind hier.
CFS 2018.
CFS
We are coming.
CFS 2018, estamos chegando.
CFS 2018, estamos chegando!
CROSSFIRE Stars, мы идем.
CFS 2018, vamos!
我是中国赛区的选手林肯，我在队伍里面担任的角色是断后和辅助。全有线这个项目打职业已经打了8年了。
Hi, I'm Kart from Execration team from the Philippines. I'm the captain of the Execration and I've been playing for 8 years in CROSSFIRE.
Nama saya Hamzah, saya berasal dari Indonesia. Posisi saya di tim sebagai leader di tim. Saya bermain CROSSFIRE profesional dari tahun 2013.
I play CROSSFIRE because a lot of people in the Philippines playing CROSSFIRE. So when I see the CROSSFIRE and I hook the playing for CROSSFIRE and I play.
Awalnya saya bermain CROSSFIRE itu mencoba untuk bermain game baru dari game saya yang sebelumnya. Bermain CROSSFIRE itu saya bercoba untuk berkompetisi dan sampai sekarang saya akhirnya bermain dengan berprestasi seperti ini.
最开始是在家里面嘛，然后全有线内测的时候，我有一些好的哥们儿和同学在玩，通过他们在玩这个游戏，然后我才开始知道这个游戏，然后我才跟他们一起玩的。
I think it changed my life because when you win in every tournament of CROSSFIRE, you have money. So I think it changed my life. CROSSFIRE changed my life.
Saya merasa mungkin lebih banyak teman di permainan ini. Saya lebih merasakan bekerja bersama-sama dengan teman juga. Bagaimana menjadi tim yang lebih baik.
信任嘛，这款游戏是一款团队游戏，然后我们5个人在团队里面扮演着各种角色嘛。这个团队一起去参加比赛，必须要5个人相互信任，然后这样的话才能就是说比赛才可以胜利。包括现实里面5个人生活在一起，有很多细节啊，要互相包容队友啊，或者说他们来包容我的一些不好的一点。所以说，我觉得这个游戏，让我学会了特别多的东西。 我在川伟宴里面打了这么多年嘛，然后从一个小孩儿打到现在也26、7岁了嘛。我衷心的希望这款游戏越来越好，我们大家越来越好。
Mungkin di tahun-tahun berikutnya turnamen seperti CFS ini lebih diperbanyak mungkin karena di Indonesia sendiri turnamen sebesar ini hanya 1 tahun 1 kali seperti itu. Mungkin bisa ditambahkan.
I think for me, CROSSFIRE is, thank you CROSSFIRE, because CROSSFIRE changed my life.
Hello and welcome back. It is CFS 2018 day number 1. Gentlemen, we are heading into our upper bracket finals for our group stages. Going to kick things off with Group A, but this is a bit of an interesting one, isn't it, Kyle? Because Q9 have come through their group. They haven't had to play a game yet, been seated right into the upper bracket final. But I think we can all still say that this is probably the game we expected to see for Group A anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Flipside and Q9 were the favorites to make it through this group regardless, but I think it's going to be interesting because Flipside, they've had the chance to warm up here, and Q9, they can't afford to go into a best of one with sort of a late presence in this game. They have to have everything intact from the start in order to close this one out. And Flipside, as we've seen against Kauai, they're a team that has the resilience to get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. Blue, you've seen a lot of esports in your time, and how important is it to be warmed up, ready to go coming into this? Do you think that this is going to be a disadvantage for a team like Q9 having the first game of the day being the upper bracket final?
It really depends on the individual. I want to be completely honest with that because I've talked to many different teams on this across many different games, and it's really been like 50-50 depending on who you talk to. Some teams like to go into a match completely cold, not having played anything else the day before, not having like expended any, not even really like physical energy, obviously this is a video game, but mental energy, just going through a very stressful game. Whereas other players, no, they like having that stress on them. They like potentially getting to have their mistakes from earlier in the day revealed earlier in matches, and being to have the opportunity to correct those before they go into potentially, a group deciding match like we have here, or at least one of the group deciding matches.
Yeah, I guess they've had a lot of time to watch games today. They would have come in early this morning to come in through the opening ceremony when we saw them up on stage. But since then, whether they've been warming up, whether they've been sitting back, relaxing and watching, I think they had a pretty good idea that they would go up against Flipside Tactics coming into this one. And they know as well, if for some reason this doesn't go how they wanted to, they're going up. They could go up against Kauai in the next match, and they should be confident in that sort of matchup as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a good position for Flipside because if they win, they get a little bit better seating in the quarterfinals, and they have that confidence of beating Kauai. So, I mean, really, they've got a little bit to prove, but they still have that comfortability of knowing that they've already beat the team they have to face, even if they can't get through here. So,
yeah, it's a nice little thing to have, that's for sure. And though the opposite of that, I guess the flip side of that, right, is that Q9 have the potential now to come in, make their way, lock themselves into a quarterfinal spot, having only played one game.
Yeah, very much the case. Could be a nice, easy day for Q9 here if they are able to make quick work of Flipside. I don't think that's going to be the case, though, considering the performance we saw from Flipside earlier, especially some of their individuals. I think Seven being the one to point out most notably, who had really good first game. Some really good clutches, I think, from him as well.
Yeah, that experience coming through. We talked about how important the order is in this in CFS, or I guess in esports in general, having a strong leader. And Seven is not only a strong leader in-game in terms of telling his team what to do, but he backs it up with frags as well.
Definitely, he's one of the stronger players on that team. I think him and Blame really led the charge in their ability to come back in their first matchup of the day. And if we see those kind of performances out of them again, I think Q9's going to have a real tough run for their money here.
Yeah, let's have a chat about Q9. Now, we haven't seen them here in finals because normally it's the top two Chinese teams being All Gamers and Super Valiant Gaming, yet here they are. They've come through as the third place Chinese team, but we've said this time and time again, the third place Chinese team is quite possibly the third best team in the world.
Yeah, and it's definitely true, and I think really Q9, even though they may not be the favored Chinese team, they still are a very, very strong team when you look at all of the teams in the overall pool here. But I think for them, it's really about showing the confidence in their first match of the day to really establish a really strong start to this event for themselves. And I think they're really going to have a lot for them here because they want to prove people wrong that have underestimated them and saying they aren't the threat. And I think Q9, if they can show a really strong first match here, people may second guess them and maybe even consider them, maybe one of the teams to beat here.
Well, the reality is that Super Valiant Gaming and All Gamers have already made their way through to their respective upper bracket finals. Q9 automatically qualified into them, so it's a little bit tough. It's not like they got to go through and say, hey, look at this, we decimated Anubis in game number 1, and maybe we were a little bit unlucky in the upper bracket final. A lot of the pressure comes in here and saying, hey, we need to show that we're as good as the other Chinese teams.
Yeah, and in some sense as well, the lack of having that what could have been a potential, easy first match for them could come back to bite. And that goes back to the kind of hot versus cold coming into matches play style. Is now they're going to go up against an incredibly formidable team, and it's a group decider match. So if they end up dropping here, not only is that going to look a little bit unfortunate for them, but it's going to allow their opponents to shoot right through easily here, and then they get the day off tomorrow.
Who are we looking at here in Q9? Who are the players to watch out for? Who are the ones that really bring the experience on board for this team?
Honestly, I think for Q9, it's one of the teams I would say there's no one individual that really separates this team from a win or a loss. These guys are really a hit and miss when it comes to their overall performance. So I think it comes down to just how cohesive they are on the day, because when they're on and they're communicating, you can really see it in their gameplay and how they rotate and how they retake. But I've also seen moments where Q9, it just seems like they're not communicating at all, trying to force aim battles, and those are the games that they let slip through. And flip side, they have to see this as a great opportunity, because if they win here, there's a really strong possibility they could secure a spot where they may not have to face one of those other #1 seed Chinese teams in the first quarterfinal.
Yeah, absolutely. The quarterfinals, they are best of ones, Blue. So when we look at this as a scenario, there is no second chance in your quarterfinal. It's actually very, very important that you come out on top of your group if you want to make it through to the grand final.
Yeah, very much the case. Gives you the advantage in seeding, obviously, and then hopefully, in theory, if it all works out according to plan, gives you potentially a little bit of an easier matchup going into those quarterfinals, since it's going to end up being such a high-stress situation for a massive amount of cash as well.
Yeah. So this flip side tactics roster, obviously, we've already seen them come through today. You didn't get to cast that game, Kyle. You got to watch it. Do they look good to you? Obviously, they won their game 10-7, but it wasn't necessarily the most challenging of matches.
Yeah, I think for flip side, if they can have an even better start than what we saw against Kawhi, they could honestly win this match pretty confidently, because we saw even with a shaky beginning to that match against Kawhi, they still were able to put up a 10-7 victory, which is pretty impressive considering that match started so far against them.
Yeah, that's one of those things where we're talking about side advantage. Side advantage aside, it didn't seem like they were going to be able to come back from that. Yet they managed to find something. I think Ian put it, they realized they were actually the better team. And when they remembered that, they were like, hang on, we can bring these rounds back. And that's precisely what they did. Going into this, Blue, I'm going straight to you this time. You've had your warm-up. Who's winning this match?
I'm going to go with Flipside based on the performance we had earlier. I do think that there's a really good chance for Q9 to take this as well, just because when you look at how strong and more importantly how prosperous of a region China is in this game, they get obviously a little bit more practice at the end of the day and for a lot of these events like this, and have that kind of high-end competition a bit more consistently. But I think the fragging potential we saw earlier from Flipside is going to shine through in this matchup, and they'll be able to take it in a best of one.
I'm going to ask you for a score as well now.
Oh, no. I think it'll be very close, though. I think we're going to be looking at like 10-7.
10-7 sounds good to me. What about you, Kyle? What are your feelings?
Well, given that the map is sub-based, I'm actually going to have to go with Q9 on this one. I've seen Flipside struggle in the past quite a bit on this map, and Q9, I think they're going to be really wanting to establish that first seed for themselves out of their group, and I think just having that on their side and just coming in fresh without having to, have any bad performance potentially in their past to reflect on, they're going to be ready and eager to make this one happen, so I'm going to go with Q9 here.
What score are you going to give them?
I still think it'll be close. I'll go 10-8 in favor of Q9 here.
Okay. I am also on the Chinese bandwagon. Look, it's hard to... coming into CFS 2017, I probably didn't have a good enough appreciation for just how strong the Chinese teams were. And I'm not going to make that mistake 2 years in a row. So for me, it's definitely going to be Q9. It's going to be Q9 in an impressive fashion. I think it's going to be something like 10-5. I think they're... maybe even 10-4 if they really come out of the gate strong. I don't want to see that happen. I feel like there's definitely a scenario in which that occurs. I think it's really going to come down to, are they warm? How did not playing a game this morning affect them? How warm are Flipside coming into this? What can Flipside do, Kyle? Really, if you say that Q9's probably going to come out with a 10-8 here, what does Flipside have to do to be able to beat a team like Q9? Is it coming out of the gate strong? Is it getting that advantage to start things off and not giving an opponent as strong as these guys that advantage heading through the rest of the map?
Yeah, I definitely think they can't afford to start as slow as they did against Kawhi. They have to have a much more confident start to this match than what we saw. So I think Q9, they're the type of team, if they feel comfortable and in the lead, they're just going to push further and further and almost be like a steamroller and come out with a really big win. And flip side, they can't be fighting from behind like they did against Kawhi. I think if they want to win this game, they have to start out in front.
What about you, Blue? Obviously, you've got Flipside coming through with the victory here. What is it about this team that makes you feel that they're going to come out against a team like Q9? What is it about? Do you not like the Chinese teams?
No, of course.
Sorry, I'm baiting you. That's not true.
No, yeah. I think it's because of some of the individual potential that we saw in their earlier matchup. Personally, for me, like I said, Seven was the one that really shined out for me.
He really did, didn't he?
Yeah, and it was really consistent too. It wasn't just a single round. It was quite a few rounds continuously that we were seeing him step to the plate, and we could see him continue that performance against Q9, along with some of the other guys continuing to have strong performances as well. They could really shut down Q9. I feel like in some of these rounds, and that's going to help to push them ahead quite convincingly.
Yeah, it definitely feels that, to me, it's that. can they get themselves an early advantage? Can they get ahead of this Chinese team and, you know, leverage that into the end game and see if it plays out? The games play out so quickly as well. It's the exciting thing. A 10-5 is over very, very, almost as quickly as it started. But I'm also ready. I'm ready for an overtime because we haven't seen one so far today. And considering how close some of these games have been, I want to see one go the distance. If of the next two games, maybe it's Carbon versus Rue Legends, Kyle, that you'd say is closer or has more chance of going to that sort of overtime scenario.
Yeah, I definitely think that match warrants overtime as a possibility, a little bit more so. But to be fair, I think Subbase as a map also has the potential to draw in both situations here, because both maps we've seen so far tend to lean one way or another, whereas Subbase, it's a very balanced map. You generally see 5-4 halves quite often, so I think that in itself could lead to an overtime situation in either one of these two matches coming up.
Well, we're heading into our first upper bracket game. It's Q9 up against Flipside, the winner going through to a quarterfinal. The loser's going to drop down and burst Kauai tomorrow afternoon. Gents, let's get into the action.
All right, and like we said before, we are changing up the map once again. So we've got Flipside getting themselves ready. Quite a bit of yelling going on. Where the Brazilian team's up on the stage, the European one's now getting heated as well as they're getting prepared to jump into Subbase, the new map we'll be playing on here, to play out some of our final matches of the day.
And right now we are going to see a pretty standard setup here from Flipside, playing pretty passive, getting some nice early nades to just sort of isolate these smoke screens here and establish some nice map control. Meanwhile, we do see Q9 a little bit eager over towards this A staircase here, ready to potentially attack here. Dice, though, already going to be playing in the position to cancel this attack here, but they do need to be careful. 7, he's creeping up here as well, wants to go for the early pick, but if ZZHY swings out here, he could punish them severely for that mistake, but they are going to make the smart decision to fall back here. And now Q9, they're going to continue to try and drain down the clock to potentially grab an early pick here.
And Q9, as they continue to look for that pick, do it in a very spread out fashion early on here. Not really one conjoined push towards one part of the map just yet, but it's like we might see that start to change as we've got a Q players trying to move in over here closer towards the B site.
Right now, Favor hoping someone challenges him in this corner box position here. He's just waiting outside the lockers, hoping that someone will pressure him. But Q9, they seem ready to take this one over towards the A bomb site. Only one player going to be lurking here, potentially to go for that late presence in the vent lurk position. But right now, Dice, he's going to be put to the test here with Blame. Can they hold them off? Dice, not going to be caught early enough, but still the trades come through in favor of Q9, Bean, and K, getting some solid entries here for Q9 to grab control of the site. 7 in favor, though, already in a position here to try and get the retake going, but Bean finds another here on the rotation. It's all on 7, already left in a 1v3, but Solo gets the drop down onto him. A little bit shaky there, but he actually manages to pull that off.
And so Q9 takes them certainly a couple of seconds to find their entry point into the A site. So they had to bring the clock down to right around a minute and a half before we finally saw them start to make impact. But as soon as they found those entries, it was not long before we saw them closing out the round. Brought it down to a 3v1 at the end. Not one of those 3 ending up falling to the potential clutch from 7.
And right now, we are going to see a very similar setup once again from Flipside, playing 2 passive B, 2 passive A, and 1 sort of roaming for information here over towards the B lockers. And it is going to be Favor once again, who hasn't been challenged here just yet, but there was some nice utility onto his position in the previous round. But he's actually going to fall back here and play a little bit safer here in hopes that they'll push him out of this position. Right now, though, Flipside just taking a very passive approach here, but that's definitely the right way to approach a team like Q9, because if it goes aim duel to aim duel, it's just not going to look pretty for them. Q9 definitely has the shots here, so Flipside, they've got to have that patience and strategy if they really want to take down Q9.
Okay, lurking himself by the vents now, trying to see if anyone from Flipside will give away positions early on, but that's not going to be the case just yet. Same as before, Q9 will be forced to make a play before they really get a chance to spot anyone from Flipside or pick up any of these kills. But they'll start to work their way in. And once again, it's going to be a similar approach. Over towards the A, Stips Dice tries to hold up, but he's immediately taken down. Q9 succeed in their push. Bean finding the 2nd and 3rd kills as Flipside are forced to push past this smoke. Oh my goodness, Bean shutting them all down as he gets another kill against 7. Leaving it all down in his favor here for Flipside. A 1v5 set against him, and it's a no-scope from Bean to finish off the round.
And that was just a solid execution coming out from Q9. They knew Dice was going to be playing that position behind the staircase once again. And unfortunately for Flipside, there was no support to be had when he went down and out. So Q9 doing a great job of reading these positions, and already they're going to cancel the counter aggression coming out from Flipside here over towards the B control room. Right now it's already a 5-on-4. Jerry taking a little bit of HP damage here, but not too much overall. Right now though, Q9 looking to get a little bit of aggression here going up towards this B cage position. They're ready to attack, but Dennis, he's going to be waiting in the corner there, finds one on to ZZHY, but they're still looking for more, but Jerry quickly there answers with a trade of his own.
Back down into a 4 versus 3, though, because of the initial kill that Q9 managed to get against Flipside. Another one picked up at the doorway by Solo to take out Favor and bring Flipside down to only 2. It's 7 and Dice that'll have to try and bring this back for their team. 7 with a good start on the AWM as he's able to pick up the trade on Jerry. And now it goes down 3 for Q9, now 2. 7 again, finding that clutch impact here. Brought low though and knocked out by Solo, but Dice is nearby for the trade. Drops the C4 in the process, and Solo incredibly low. He's going to have to pull off a miracle to clutch this now and stop Dice from controlling it for Flipside, as they're certainly going to be in a controlling position now.
Right now, Solo just looking for that single one tap to somehow turn this one back in his favor, but right now he's got to be careful. Dice has all of the HP advantage he needs to win this, and right now the bomb being down does not make it any easier here for Solo, but it's going to be an actually risky decision here from Dice. He looks like he wants to go into vents, and if he gets caught here on the cross here in this little opening, it's going to be a tough one here to get out of. I'm surprised he chose this risky of a position to take with this much of an advantage here in his positioning. But right now, he's hoping that Solo is going to take the bomb and run down to the A bomb site. And right now, this may be the decision that wins him or loses him the round. Now Solo, he's going to back off here and hope that Dice drops down. He wants to have some sort of confidence in knowing where Dice is playing in this position, but Dice, he's playing it quite well, patient as ever, hoping that Solo makes the mistake of going back towards A, but Solo, now he has the time to pull B and get this bomb down, but Dice, he's already caught on to it.
Dice moving up to try and catch up to his opponent quickly. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to stop him from putting the C4 onto the ground. So planted on B. In a moment, these guys will fight. Dice trying to delay it for as long as possible to give himself a better angle, as he does have the HP advantage, whether he knows it or not, but it won't matter. No! Q9 at low HP. A massive clutch coming up from the last man standing, as they'll continue to pick up round after round again against Flipside.
And right now, the rounds are fairly close, but the scoreboard not quite at all. No rounds for Flipside so far, and this is where they need to begin that road to recovery that we saw earlier on in the day against Kawhi. And Q9, though, with this much momentum on their side, it could be a much more daunting task to come back from. And right now, there's really no shining stars on the roster of Flipside just yet in this matchup. Everyone's sitting at less than 3 frags, not ideal in this situation. Meanwhile, you have Bean constantly able to control this A-long cross position, and no challenge really met just yet. 7 had a couple decent picks in the last round, but now he looks eager to take this 1v1 duel against Bean.
Favor in the meanwhile still stuck behind the boxes of the lockers, waiting for any potential push they might see from Q9. And remind yourself, Q9 have been having an incredibly varied push so far. As great nades going out against Favor, brings him to just over a quarter of his HP. He's going to have to try and hold off in this corner now with incredibly low HP, but the good news is it doesn't look like Q9 are going to end up pushing him.
Here we have it. Q9 look to be doing a split here over towards A. They have a couple players lurking outside of vents here to potentially take this control. And right now, it's going to be up to Blame and 7 to try and stall this push, but Solo, he's already creeping through vents, and ZZHY seems eager to attack onto this position. Blame and 7, they've got to try and lock this one down, but right now, the pressure is definitely weighing down upon them. Dennis, though, finds the opening, takes down ZZHY, but K immediately answers with one of his own, but Dennis, he's still holding on, finds the double kill, and he's actually able to back off with his life there.
Bean trying to take himself a very aggressive angle at the doors, but won't be finding any impact just yet. Time again going to become an issue here for Q9 as they're under 40 seconds in just a moment here. Good push from Jerry, though, knocks out another player from Flipside with Favor. Falling, a great pick from Solo as he finds the headshot. He'll look for the closeout as well. He's going to be able to take down Dice. Completely destroys all the defensive pressure, and Bean will follow it up with one more kill to keep Q9 in control at 4-0.
Right now, Flipside, they need to grab some sort of success on their half soon. Otherwise, this is going to be a potential for maybe even the second 10-0 we've seen here in the tournament so far. But right now, flip side, there's a chance to stall it out, but they need to step up to the plate here and now in order to make that happen. But with Bean in solo, getting so many entry frags each and every round for Q9, this is going to be quite the task ahead of them.
Yeah, unfortunately for the guys on flip side, it just seems like at the end of the day, even when it comes down to clutch scenarios, the flip side should have in their back pocket, like we saw earlier, with Dice in the 1v1, they are just unable to close out. Q9 just out-skilling them in every single avenue so far here on sub-base.
Right now, Q9 looks to take the first full execution that we've seen from them over towards B. They've had a couple late rounds where they've split it up, but right now they seem pretty eager to make that happen. But Bean still looking for that opening pick, and he'll find it. Dennis goes down. The trade trying to come through, but Dice finally secures it there. Bean almost with the chance to react, but Dice barely secures that one just in time. Blame, though, has to try and stall this one out over towards B. Not going to happen. Jerry already with the shutdown frag. 7. One and done as well. 3-on-2 situation. Jerry, though, very low. It's going to be up to Favor and Dice on the retake, but right now they do not have the positioning to make this happen. Favor now left alone in a 1-on-3, and Jerry gets the final kill to make it happen here, and Q9 still looking great in this matchup. And flip side, no answers yet.
A slow but arduous process for Q9 to eliminate flip side in that round, but they get the job done once again. 3 still standing at the end of it. They remain at a massive advantage over flip side in most of these situations, and flip side still unable to find what they need to close out. And now Q9 are just going to continue to get more and more aggressive, walking right in. We do see the initial kill going their way, but there's 2 trades coming from flip side. 7 and Dennis. Now we see Blame getting into the fight as well here with 2 pickups of his own. He finds ZZHY, and now with 1 final frag against Bean, finally, seemingly out of nowhere, flip side pick up a round of their own.
Right now, it's looking like an awkwardly familiar situation. 5-1 is actually how the Kawhi comeback started for them as well. So maybe they're looking to do the same thing here, but against Q9, it's going to be a much more difficult task, but we'll see if they're up to it once again. Flip side, though, looking for a potential 5-4 half if they could close this one out perfectly, but right now, Blame already takes about 70 HP of damage there on his aggression over into the B control room. Dennis going to fall off as well and play a bit safer. Now Q9 look to respond with a pick of their own. Still in a great position here, but flip side, we cannot underestimate them here when things get tough. They're a team we've seen bounce back already, and maybe, just maybe, they'll do that again here.
Already 1 round on the board, at least. They certainly had the momentum swinging in their favor with the decisive way. They were able to shut down Q9's aggression in the previous round. Back on round number 6. And here in the 7th, flip side still look to maintain control. And they've done so far in a passive way, like we've seen in previous rounds. Q9 still looking for the easiest avenue to access either of the sites. And as soon as time starts to tick closer to that 1-minute mark, we will start to see them force their way in. Over by the command center, it looks like is where they're throwing most of their aggression right now. Trying to get them closer and closer to the B site.
Right now, flip side looking to try and anchor this one down. Favor, though, surprisingly not on the board yet. 0 and 6, not what you want to see out of him. But to be fair, Q9, they've only had really 2 players making the key impact for their team. Bean and Solo combined at 18 frags in just 6 rounds is pretty insane between the 2 of them, putting a lot of pressure onto this flip side tactics roster. And ZZHY looks ready to make some impact of his own. Finds the opening here over towards the A-bomb site. Takes down Favor. Dice tries to hold up to it, but it's not going to happen. And ZZHY finds the double kill and full control of the A-bomb site. Bean answers as well here. Things looking grim for flip side on the round. Dennis and 7 already left in a 2v5 retake situation. And here comes the pinch K, already in the position to take him down. 7 alone in a 1v5. Surely not something Q9 will let slip here.
7, I think, just got spotted inside of the vents too. So if he tries to make a move, in fact, he's realized it, he would certainly lead to his own death. He'll try to work his way outside, but you can see ZZHY moves to cut him off successfully. And Q9 go right back into controlling this matchup now with an incredibly one-sided scoreline of 6-1.
And now flip side, they're going to run into some trouble here if they can't find another round in this half. It could just be the beginning of the end for them here on sub base. And still, Favor sitting at 0 frags is something that has to make you a bit nervous because he's the only anchor they have directly responding to this locker's position. So if they storm through onto the B bomb site and favors their only player, he has to step up to the plate here and make a larger impact than he has so far in this half. But to be fair, the rest of Flipside really hasn't had too many shining moments just yet here in this matchup as well. So really Q9 just in full control here, looking to close things out with a confident end to this half. But right now, we're going to see a little bit of pressure coming out from Flipside here over towards A as they rotate 4 players to stack towards this positioning.
Q9 finally going to start throwing some pressure at that A site through long, in through the doors now. Continue to move past the pipes to work themselves down the steps and into the actual site here. Not anywhere near as much direct contention on the stairs we see in past rounds either, but it's going to work out in an okay fashion for Flipside now. Even trades in a 2-2 fashion out as well. Q9 taking massive damage on some of their other players. Even Solo getting caught out on the lurk from the outside of the vents. He's going to fall down, and it's up to Bean in a 1v3. Certainly an unfamiliar sight for most of Q9's roster. We don't want to count Bean out of it just yet either. He'll move in, tries to go for an opening pick. The shot connects, but it's not a kill. It only brings Dennis down to about 20, and he will be cut off after that by Dennis himself to give Flipside their second.
And right now, if they can pick up round number 3, it will have been the same score they took in their first match of the day at the half as well. So Flipside almost mirroring their round score here so far. Pretty interesting to see unfold, but right now Q9 still looking like the favorites here by a large margin, but still favor yet to find a frag, and we're already in the last round of our first half here. Definitely some struggles coming out of him. If he could step it up, this could be a much closer game here. But right now, Q9 playing very reserved, waiting to see if Blame makes the mistake of pushing out from this position. If he does, it could be another pick to fall right into their hands, and they're going to go for it here. Jerry getting aggressive, almost takes him out, finally connects on the frag, but Dennis comes in for the support and finds a frag of his own over towards K. Right now, though, it is going to be even numbers here, 4-on-4, and it looks like we are going to see a slow rotation of the bomb back towards potentially A once again.
As Q9 back themselves into a corner momentarily. Flipside are going to take this as an opportunity to push themselves back out further in towards the B-bomb set to get ready for a potential push in this direction from Q9, and that certainly seems to be the tail of this round, or at least the intended tail, as Q9 push themselves past the control center and around through the locker room to get themselves inside.
Right now, Dice and Dennis, they're set up nicely to try and stall out this push, but right now Dice has to be the one to find the entries here, but Jerry already takes down Dennis, looking for the drop down. He can't find it though. Dice eventually gets traded out as Favor finds one on the rotation in, but it's still a 1v2 here for 7, and the bomb yet to be planted, but 7 with an arm in hand has to come up huge here, finds the first, and it's down to Bean and 7, the 1v1, both snipers for their team, but this time around Bean does have the AK advantage here to work with on this post-plant situation, but the Colt, a deadly pistol in close quarters, so if 7 can sneak in here, and Bean has no idea, he spots the head, huge play for 7 to take it, and he will, and that's going to be a big 1v1 for Flipside to potentially start the climb back into this match as they take a 6-3 half here.
It's the main man once again. It's 7 stepping up to the plate here for Flipside. Following up with a massive clutch for his team, able to close out, and as you mentioned, really bring them back into the server, back into this matchup, and what a few rounds ago seemed like it was going to be an incredibly one-sided match for Q9.
Right now, though, Q9's still in a great position. It's not necessarily like Mexico, where we can see such an easier comeback on that second half, because there's no comfortability here in knowing one half is significantly stronger than the other. So it's really a situation where they may have been able to do it on Mexico, but not only up against a better team, but on a harder map that isn't necessarily one-sided for them. They're going to have to do even more here, I think, to close this one out and potentially bring it back here. But we definitely saw some step up in performance here towards the end, but Favor, I don't even think he was still able to close that half with a kill, and I think if he flicks that switch, turns on, and can show up here in the second half, it could be a whole new Flipside here.
It would be the case, but thankfully, even without Favor, we see another player step up to the plate here for Flipside to bring the impact necessary to close out on some very much needed rounds to bring them back into it. It's obviously turned into a much closer affair. It's 6-3 here. Like a chance for Flipside to get into it now as they move over to the attacking side, over towards the Blacklist side. Q9 take on Global Risk instead in these next remaining rounds in regulation.
Right now, we can already see the bit of difference here between the two defensive setups. And Q9, they play much more towards the B-bomb site early, but they still have some solid rotation set up. ZZHY, though, and Solo going to run into some trouble here. Flipside trying to execute onto the lower A bomb site, but Solo picks up the triple kill and completely shuts things down. Dice finally responds with one on the up. opposite side of the map, but it's going to be 7 already alone in a 1v3 here. Not a great situation once again for Flipside. Surely not as the 7th round on the board approaches here for Q9, but 7, he's also pinched between 2 players, but Bean, he's the one to find the frag and continue this reign for Q9, 7-3.
Seemed like we might have had the guys from Flipside jumping back into the fight, but unfortunately it is a short-lived tale as Q9 pick up their 7th, just 3 more rounds away from the closeout, and more importantly, the seemingly very easy ticket to move themselves forward into the quarterfinals due to their bye match earlier today.
Right now, we are going to see a pretty similar setup here coming out from Q9. They are going to have K, though, rotated into upper A for that extra support in case the A hit does come, and they have predicted this one quite well. All of Flipside ready to execute here onto this A bomb site. ZZHY, though, hiding in the corner, goes down immediately to blame Solo, only able to get one this time around as well. But Favor, he's already found himself another one here. Bean and Jerry left alone in a 2v4 retake situation. Jerry, though, already quickly flanking here, but Bean is going to be pretty late on the rotation over from B as well, and this is where we really need to see Flipside anchor it down and get this round on the board. They cannot afford to let a clutch go against them.
Jerry going to continue to wait behind the pipes right now. Wait to see if he can get himself anyone from Flipside that might have been pushing out, but they are staying locked into that site. Nade's unfortunately not really connecting either, and 7 with a nice pick catches Bean up on top of the site to take him down. Jerry keep his head down this time to avoid the same fate as his teammate as he works himself down the side, steps into the site. Dice will still be waiting for him to take him out and secure that round for Flipside as these teams now trade back and forth for the past few rounds.
And now Flipside, this is their chance to start to build a bit of momentum for themselves, but still being down by 3, not an easy task to pull off the comeback here against Q9, who have shown their resilience in holding on to that lead for the majority of this game. So right now, Flipside, they really have to show us a bit more than what we saw in the previous round. They were able to get 1 on the board. They have to do a lot more than that here to ultimately win this match. Right now, Q9, we see the adjustments coming through once again. They are going to put K a little bit more aggressively here over towards that mid-execution position. He's just going to be able to stall it off here and potentially catch them as they come out of L-turn. Right now, though, we do see Flipside trying to sneak their way up and potentially take this B-bomb site by surprise. They actually get caught there from Solo and K, though. K picks up the double, make it a triple kill, and the shutdown comes to a fruition, but from the rafters, he still finds another one, 4 kills in his hands, and Bean seals the deal there. Brilliant shots coming out from K, and that's going to be another big round for Q9 here.
K single-handedly shutting down the assault from Flipside and pushes Q9 one round closer, just 2 away now from being able to take control of the map, and more importantly, the upper portion of the group to move them in first seed position from this group towards the quarterfinals. Flipside quickly move themselves over towards A, but so does Q9. They'll wait at the bottom of the big steps in the event. We see the push come out from Flipside, so they will hold themselves by the pipes for now. ZZHY going to be wrapped around the corner downstairs, so he'll take first challenge should we see Flipside commit to this push, and that seems to be the case. Smokes and flashes on their way out now for these guys to work their way in. Bean's going to be forced back. ZZHY successful at holding for at least 1 first pickup, though. He will be traded out by Favor a second later, and Bean unable to pick up a second in his own regard. It goes 2 for 2, bringing us down to with 3 versus 3 as we wait for the remaining members of Q9 to rotate over to the site. The plant for the C4 should be coming out in just a moment as well.
Right now, Flipside just scoping out this issue here for the retake. They want to make sure they do not get caught off guard in this situation, but now they will finally get the plant off, and it's all about the post-plant hold here for Flipside. They desperately need this round to keep themselves alive in this match, but it's just an incredibly patient retake coming out from Q9. They're trying to catch players out of positioning, and Jerry finds one, but K immediately goes down. Dennis picks up the double kill, and it's down to a 2v1 for Solo here to try and take this one back away from Flipside Tactics. A nice counter flash comes down in, though, in Favor. May just be able to hold this one off. Gets the kill there, and just like that, it's a 5th round on the board for Flipside. Still in the fight here.
Doesn't expect to jump off the missile right there, so he does get picked off by one of the last stragglers from Flipside. And with that, they continue to fight. They continue to hold on to this matchup and hope that they can bring it back and still work their way out of the group early by defeating Q9. We're going the distance, ladies and gentlemen, that is for sure. But look at this, Flipside kicking up the heat now as they're going to come rushing inside of the building. Blame with a double-killed entry for Flipside as it knocks out both Bean and K. Jerry trying to turn it around, it won't work. It's going to be Solo instead that strikes first for Q9. It's only a small gesture, though, considering that the entire team of Q9 is down to only ZZHY and Solo. A 2v4, and as well, the plant already onto the ground just a few seconds into it.
And Solo, the player you have to watch out for in these late round situations. He's so vital to Q9's success, and he knows how to find the openings, but this time around, Flipside, they are prepared, and they shut this one down completely and pick themselves up yet another round here, and this is where Q9 has to be careful. Flipside still could take this one in regulation.
A barnstorming performance, to be sure, out of that one from Flipside. They rush their way in and are able to take massive leaps, but we're going to have a similar thing happen in the next round here. Smoke's getting in the way a little bit. Solo has eyes, but is unable to frag. Favor finding another pickup and go down to a 3 versus 2, but K's also going to go down, leaving it all in Bean. In the 1v3, tries to predict the play. He'll be locked, though, over into the A-bomb site. Seems to be the correct read for the time being, but Flipside also realizing that this could be the case. They're going to leave their options open for a moment before they make a final decision, which seems to be leading towards the B site.
And now Bean looking to try and pull something huge off here. He would bring his team on to match point if he could somehow make this one happen. But a 1v3, not looking too likely, but they're going to run right into his positioning here. There's a chance he gets one through the edge of the smoke there. Looks for the second, but can't find it. Blame. Nicely done on the trade there. And Flipside live to fight yet another day here, and they're closing in on a potential tie now if they can get another one on the board.
Good immediate follow-up onto the first pick that we saw from Bean to try and win out that 1v3. Just keep the pressure on him. Don't let him re-bolt the AWM. Has to take him down when he's at his weakest. So, another victory for Flipside. As you mentioned, one away now from tying this up at 8-8 for both teams, and potentially going the distance. Full time in regulation here. Slow start this time, however, for Flipside, which is a bit of a rare sight considering what we've had transpire over the past couple of rounds of Flipside. Nearly just rushing in on both rounds and it working out.
And right now we can see Q9, they've made some adjustments, but I'm not sure if there's some sort of pause or delay here because they had their hands up in the air like the round maybe paused here. So looks like we may have some sort of technical issue or pause coming out here. But so far it is going to be 8-7, and Flipside, they've been clawing back, but it looks like 7 is having some technical issues. So we are going to take a quick pause here.
Yeah, no problem at all, and thankfully this does occur at the start of the round, so should be no issue to invalidate it and redo it once again. Keep us at that similar scoreline, but still, starts off, let's review the game a little bit here. Starts off as an incredibly dominant one for Q9. It was going to go 10-0 at one point there with the method that they were dominating this matchup at 5-0. Then a slow but steady creep, which seemed to rapidly pick up pace and got into the second half here for Flipside.
Definitely, they seem to be the team that almost enjoys a little bit fighting from behind. When the pressure is at its highest, they seem to step up and perform quite well under it. So I'm interested to see if they could potentially close this one out, as we saw earlier in the day. But Q9, a whole new monster to go up against and make that a reality. So I definitely think this pause may be actually a good time for Q9 here to have just sort of a quick breath of fresh air before they get into this one and maybe close it out after a quick reset mentally for themselves.
A little bit of time to calm down as well. So we know emotions run high and these rounds go incredibly quick back-to-back at each other. There's often not really any time whatsoever for teams to recompose themselves as they're constantly being thrown into the action. Hopefully this gives them a moment to recenter, and more importantly, the IGLs to refocus the attention to what matters in these upcoming rounds.
Yeah, and right now, Flipside, they're definitely in a situation where they can see the potential here, not even having to go to overtime if they can just win 3 rounds in a row and get themselves that first seed here in their group. And after the way this one started, it would be just a remarkable performance, to say the least. Between these two teams, we would have definitely said Q9 earlier on had this match in their hands, but right now they've slowly but surely let that slip away. And right now, Flipside, they've got a brilliant opportunity to make this one happen for themselves. But Q9, you can see it on their faces too. They don't seem too happy with how this one is going currently.
No, certainly not the case. Maybe expecting a quicker closeout after the started scoreline, or just disappointed that they've been unable to win out some of these more close situations, such as the retakes that have really been an issue for them due to how quickly Flipside has been able to pierce the sight on quite a few of their attacking rounds from Blacklist.
Right now, I'm interested to see as well if they bring out the setup that Q9 had right before the pause there. They looked like they were going to almost give up control over that A bomb site to start off that final round before the pause. And I think if they bring out that strategy here after the pause as well, it could pay off, because Flipside, their biggest success was catching players off guard with a really fast-paced execution. And if they play a little bit more reserved, a little bit further back, I think they can get the aim duels they've been trying to take here against Flipside. And I think Q9 has actually read this situation quite well if they can bring that setup out after the pause.
We'll figure that out in just a moment, as we are still paused, ladies and gentlemen. If you are curious, looks like we were sorting out a technical issue with one of the Flipside members' PCs a second ago. As far as I'm aware, we are still working on that. So as soon as we have it fixed, of course, we'll be jumping back into the match to continue the action and see if either Flipside can complete the comeback now and close out in their own regard, or Q9 will regain their strength to push onward up to 10. Take the group, or at least the top portion of the group.
Right now, I think Flipside, they may actually have what it takes here. I think one of the big things I noticed was, Favor, he stepped up big time here in the second half. He had a really shaky performance, and I think he's just come full circle here, and it's really been part of the impact I think they needed on Flipside to make it happen. But it looks like we are back into the action here, 8-7 after the pause. Q9 still up, but Flipside now in a position to potentially tie things.
Let's see if Flipside will be able to complete the comeback now. Q9, of course, looking for a shutdown in their own regard. Got the members of Q9 still relatively split up across the map, though. Not any heavy commitment towards one of the sites, and a very, very light on A. With a lot of their players wrapping to the upper portion of the A site. May run into issues. Nope, it's going to be Bean that strikes first for his team. He's going to look for more than this as well. He's got support on the other side from Solo. 3, now 4-1 in terms of the trading potential with Q9 dominating again. The drop down on the vents from 7, though, changes things up a little bit. But he's alone, remember. However, that's not going to stop him. He's found 2 pickups, is looking for another one, but it will not happen. K takes him down, and it is going to be Q9 that push ahead once again and just barely maintain that lead. However, the lead they do have puts them up on map point.
And now Flipside, they need to start throwing some curveballs out here to grab these last 2 rounds and take it into overtime. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. A full push out of L-turn onto the B bomb site. K has to be ready in the rafters position, but this time around, there's no quad kills today. Jerry finds one, but Dice immediately takes down K in the rafters. And it's looking like Flipside may have control of this bomb site after all, but Jerry, he still hangs onto it, finds himself another one, and Solo and Bean, they rotate in and find the frags as well. It's all on Favor, do or die, the map on the line. This could be it. Favor finds one, and that's going to be it, 10-7, and Q9, they are able to pull it off when it's all said and done. Flipside, they tried to come back, but this time it was just too late to make it happen.
So the Chinese teams reign supreme once again. Q9 will push forward first place coming out of the group for Flipside. Of course, they're not done yet. So just the upper bracket finals, but they will now have to fight it out in the lower bracket. They still like a position.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Q9 making their way through to the quarters. Congratulations. And look, I can't help but feel for Flipside in that situation. When we talked about the momentum, right? This is a very momentum-based game, particularly when the rounds back to back to back. They move very quickly. And that pause really seemed to hit Flipside very hard.
Yeah, I think it was really unfortunate for them because they had so much momentum built up, and I think Q9 just having that small chance to mentally reset themselves helped them get that ability to close this one out.
For me, Blue, that Q9 that we saw after the pause was the Q9 that we saw at the start of the game. The team that managed to rack up like 5 rounds in a row or something incredible.
It did seem like they were a little bit drained after they had that massive losing streak due to the very, very quick takes they were seeing from Flipside. Those are working incredibly well for them, and it seemed like it was going to be the key thing that would bring them back to the game. But yeah, unfortunately, that pause being a momentum breaker, and once again, very similarly to our last 2 matches, a massive lead for one of the teams at the start, ultimately allowing for them to cut ahead and take control as well.
As much as I thought Q9 was going to take that through, I think that to see Flipside come back from what was quite a considerable deficit, even though they did not get there in the end, they now still have another shot. They'll drop down to the lower bracket final. But for me, that's a good sign heading into the rest of the tournament. If they can come back up against a strong team like Q9 when they are down, maybe if they can just get that little bit further ahead in the tournament, maybe that's going to come back, and that's a skill that will see them through.
Yeah, definitely Flipside finds themselves in an interesting position now because they've shown that they can come back, but they've now also shown Kawhi what it takes to close out against them and prevent them from that comeback. So I think it's a really interesting matchup on the way to see Kawhi face off against Flipside once again.
Yeah, the nature of this Group A, of course, with Anubis not being there anymore, means Kawhi automatically wins that first lower bracket game, and they do go now head-to-head with Flipside for that second spot coming out of the group. Blue, what are your thoughts about that matchup? What do you think we're going to see?
I think we're going to see another very close affair when it comes down to those 2 teams facing off against each other. Ultimately, though, the thing I took out of that game is that Flipside doesn't matter what is thrown against them. They do have that capability to come back in a very, very, detrimental situation. And I think that ultimately is going to allow them to come out on top against the Colombian team at the end of the day. But we'll have to see, because they probably have the capability to learn a lot from just that match we played out there.
There's a lot to take away, but Solo, look at that. Very good KDA there as well. And I think we can agree with that sort of score. He certainly deserves the MVP. Would you agree? Was he your MVP for that match?
Yeah, I think between him and Bean, they were just getting so many entries in that first half that it made it almost impossible for Flipside to have any sort of control over the match. And ultimately, they were able to stack up enough rounds to just hold on to that lead, even when Flipside tried to pull it back.
What have we learnt from this game about Q9? We haven't had a chance to see them here at CFS 2018 until now. What are your thoughts about that, Blue?
Looking just at their roster and some of their individuals, it's going to be watching out for a player like Bean. He was constantly in the way and constantly picking at least 1-for-1, if not multiple frags on that AWM, and he's certainly going to be a force to be reckoned with in future matches.
And you can see the Group A bracket pushing through. Q9 coming out as the #1 seed, locking themselves a slot into one of those quarterfinals. And then Kauai and Flipside going to be coming through as that other game, as we were talking about. I don't know, I can't help but feel that Flipside team will be coming out as the other team in this group. But Kauai, they've got a shot, they've got one more chance, and look, they've had now an opportunity both to play Flipside and to watch a game with Flipside. That's to be fair, an advantageous position.
Yeah, I think Kauai has a lot going their way going into that next match that they have to face Flipside again. But at the same time, Flipside, they've got that comfortability where they've won and they may just be able to do it again.
Well, Kai, we're going to head to an interview on the stage with Matt in just a second. In just a second, we'll be a little bit later on than just a second. Oh, here we go. Looks like Matt's on the stage and ready to go. We'll be throwing across to him right now.
In the shape of Q9. Congratulations, Solo. That game looked like it was going to be a lot more one-sided. It started off very strongly for Q9, but then the round started to come back for Flipside Tactics, and they nearly won it in the end. Q9 managed to get it. How does he feel about their team's performance?
刚才你们就是开局开得非常好，但是最后你们对手呢，追了很多分，把比分给追上来了。那你们觉得你们刚才这一场表现怎么样呢？
可能是因为我们没有打过小组赛的第一场，然后直接打了胜者组，然后大家可能对于这个服务器就是还在就是慢慢的适应，然后就是有点太急了，着急打的，然后就后来经过我的调整，而且包括我自己当到保卫者的时候也会就是太着急，包括前压什么的，就是如果是打得好一点的话，就是做保守一点就会好一点。
So at the beginning of the game, because we didn't play in the morning, so we weren't really warming ourselves up. But so on the defense side, for myself, I didn't warm myself up, and I was a little bit in a hurry. So on the defensive side, I decided to play it more safe. So that's why we managed to win the game.
Okay. So we also should find out that of the 3 Chinese teams who are here, a lot of people consider Q9 to be the 3rd of those, behind All Gamers and Super Valiant Gaming, who are of course the reigning world champions. So could you ask Solo for me how he feels about Q9 being considered the 3rd of those teams, and whether he thinks that's fair?
有些人可能会觉得说，Q9 呢可能是中国第3强的队伍，因为前面有 SV 就是去年的世界冠军，还有 AG， 然后大家都会觉得 Q9 可能是第3强的队伍。那么 Solo 你对这种说法怎么看？你觉得这对 Q9 公平吗？
因为很多观众他只是看了成绩，看了比如说排名嘛，但是作为我们自己私底下有练过的队伍的话，就会怎么说呢？就是看线下的临场应变能力，还有个别选手的爆发能力。我觉得这次肯定会改变。对。
So a lot of audience are judging by the past achievements, and because we have practiced in private with other teams, so it really comes down to the performance at that day.
Okay, pretty close in comparison then. Well, we have them through to the quarterfinals. So last thing I want to know is tomorrow we'll do the quarterfinals draw, and then they'll start on Thursday. What are they going to do between now and then? Do they feel ready for the quarterfinals, or is there more preparation to do?
因为现在已经晋级了8强了，那么可能明天只是参加抽签仪式就可以了。那么明天所以是休息的。那明天打算是放松呢，还是继续努力训练？
明天首先我们会看每个小组的 就是 B、C、D 3个小组的第2名，然后根据他们的，明天晚上还得看抽签嘛，就是看完抽签以后，然后晚上再去研究一下对手的一些东西吧。
So tomorrow we will watch the game to see who will be the second place of Group B, C, D, and then after the draw we will study our opponent.
That's how it's going to work for Q9. They are through to our quarterfinals. Congratulations, Solo and the guys. We're going to go next to a short break, and then after that, we'll find out who's going to top Group B. The winners' game of Group B will be our final match today. So don't disappear. That's coming up next. And congratulations again, Q9.